The world stood still. Streets fell quiet. Conversations faded to whispers. And for one brief moment, borders, beliefs, and politics dissolved into silence. Humanity watched, breath held, as Pope Francis, frail but alert, prepared to speak for the final time. There was no ceremony, no pomp, just a humble man with a trembling voice, ready to deliver a message not just to Catholics, but to every man and woman with a beating heart. The television screens, radios, and phones carry his image and voice across every continent. Not as a head of church, but as a soul who walked deeply with both faith and struggle, love and truth. What if this last message was more than farewell? What if it was a final attempt to wake us up, not to religion, but to the immense power within ourselves, to the forgotten greatness in the human spirit? What if this holy man, in his final breath, gave the world the very key to personal transformation? Not through sermons, but through truth stripped bare. That is a lens through which we receive his words. Because in moments of darkness, it is often the quiet voice of experience that shines brightest. Pope Francis, a man who touched the hearts of billions, reminded us in that final hour that adversity is not the enemy. It is the beginning. As Napoleon Hill taught, every adversity carries with the seed an equal or greater benefit. This was not a religious doctrine. It was a spiritual law of success. The Pope's last message was a mirror, reflecting back our potential, our divine strength, and our sacred duty to rise, even when the world falls. His voice may fade, but the call to greatness has just begun. Have faith. Pope Francis once said, God does not abandon us. He is always near, even in the moments when he seems most distant. Those words rang louder than ever in his final message to the world. But he wasn't just speaking of faith in a religious sense. He was reaching deeper, pointing to something universal. In a world trembling beneath the weight of anxiety, doubt, and division, his voice was a whisper in the chaos, calling us back to belief. Not just belief in God, but belief in ourselves, in one another, and in the unseen forces that move us toward greatness. Napoleon Hill understood faith not as a passive hope, but as an active, vital force, a state of mind that could be cultivated. Faith, Hill wrote, is a state of mind which may be induced or created by affirmation or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind. This kind of faith isn't reserved for saints or prophets. It's available to anyone willing to take control of their thoughts and align them with a definite purpose. Pope Francis's call for faith was not to escape the world, but to change it. And Hill showed us how to use that faith like a tool, sharpened by repetition, ignited by desire, and strengthened by discipline. Today, people are spiritually starved, not just for religion, but for meaning. We chase success, yet feel empty. We scroll through endless distractions, but rarely stop to reflect. Faith is the antidote. Not blind faith, but faith forged through clarity, vision, and relentless belief in the power within. When you believe deeply enough in a goal, when you see it in your mind, feel it in your heart, and affirm it with your words daily, you begin to awaken something powerful, your own divine potential. Start small. Speak your vision out loud every morning. Write it down. Close your eyes and see it already achieved. In time, your belief will outgrow your doubts. Faith is not magic. It's muscle. It grows with use. And in a fading world, as the light of one great man began to dim, he pointed us not to despair, but to this eternal truth. Belief, true, living belief, is the beginning of every miracle and every victory. In his final message, Pope Francis did not speak of doctrines or rules. He spoke of love, raw, radical, redemptive love. We were not created to live in hatred, he said, but to be instruments of mercy, builders of peace. It wasn't sentimentality. It was a challenge, a reminder that love is not weakness. It is power. Forgiveness is not surrender. It is strength. And compassion is not soft. It is the hardest path, the higher road. The world, torn by division and pride, needed to hear it, because only love has ever truly healed, united, or transformed anything worth saving. Napoleon Hill, writing generations earlier, knew this truth from a different angle. He observed that bitterness, envy, and selfishness were silent killers of success. A mind filled with resentment cannot focus. A heart hardened by ego cannot attract greatness. Hill wrote, "No man can succeed in a line of endeavor which he does not like. But beneath that was a deeper truth. Success rooted in hate crumbles. Only a burning desire that comes from love, love for purpose, love for family, love for the future, has the fuel to carry you through the storm. Love is the energy behind persistence, resilience, and vision. Look at history's great souls. Abraham Lincoln, in the depths of civil war, led not with vengeance, but with the intent to heal. Gandhi, with nothing but simple cloth and steadfast heart, toppled an empire using only the force of truth and love. Martin Luther King Jr. faced dogs, water hoses, and prison cells, but never raised a fist. Only a voice rooted in justice and compassion. Even Hill himself, orphan and broke, used his life to uplift millions, not out of ego, but a calling born of deep empathy for the struggling and the stuck. This kind of love is not romantic. It is revolutionary. It requires forgiveness when you're justified in anger. It asks for kindness when cruelty would be easier. And in the pursuit of your dreams, it demands that you never forget why you started, who it's for, and what legacy you'll leave. Pope Francis reminded the world in the end, titles fade, money disappears, and fame turns to silence. But love remains, and only those who learn to lead with it will ever know real power. In his final address, Pope Francis spoke slowly, but his words cut deep. He did not weep for the loss of wealth, the fall of economies, or the hunger for material things. He grieved a deeper famine, the poverty of the mind and spirit. There are many who sleep with full stomachs but empty hearts, he said. They are surrounded by noise but know no peace. It is not coins we lack, but clarity. He had seen a world addicted to consumption, but starving for purpose. It was not the absence of money that truly plagued humanity. It was the absence of belief. Napoleon Hill understood this too. He knew that the most dangerous poverty was not in the wallet, but in the mind. He wrote, "There is a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. That readiness is a mindset, a deep, trained conviction that you deserve more, that you are more, and no amount of money can give you that. Only thought, intention, and belief can. You may be broke. You may be behind on the rent, struggling to make it through the month. But if your thoughts are rich, if your mind is focused, clear, and grounded in faith, you are not poor. You are becoming powerful. The moment you begin to think like someone who has already overcome, your life starts to shift. This is a daily work. Speak life into your goals. Visualize the outcome you want, not the fear you feel. Surround yourself with people and words that reflect where you're going, not where you've been. Refuse to let your current circumstances define your permanent identity. As Pope Francis sat with the weight of a world on his shoulders, his voice rose just enough to say, "Do not let your soul go hungry while chasing bread." The real food is belief. The real treasure is awareness. And the real poverty, the only one to fear, is the one that convinces you that you are less than what you truly are. Train your thoughts like a warrior. See abundance. Speak abundance. Live as if it's already yours. That is how you rise. In the quiet weight of his final message, Pope Francis looked into the lens as if he could see each of us and said simply, "You do not have forever." There was no fear in his voice, only truth. He reminded us that time, our most precious gift, is slipping through our fingers each day. Life is sacred because it ends. The clock is not our enemy, but our reminder. We were not born to drift. We were born to decide, to move, to act. And yet so many wait for the right moment, for a sign, for the fear to fade. But waiting has stolen more dreams than failure ever has. Napoleon Hill knew this truth deeply. Successful people make decisions quickly and firmly, he wrote. Definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement. It's not about having the perfect plan. It's about having a clear target and the guts to move toward it. Now, Hill saw how hesitation kills momentum. He understood that greatness is not found in preparation, but in action. The people who succeed are not always the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who act when others pause. Procrastination is not laziness. It's often fear in disguise. Fear of being seen. Fear of failing. But purpose, real purpose, burns through fear. When you know why you're here, when you feel the urgency of your calling, hesitation becomes impossible. You don't wait for permission. You speak, you build, you show up like your life depends on it. Because it does. Pope Francis, facing the edge of eternity, was not concerned with titles, awards, or opinions. He was concerned with what mattered. His last message was not just a farewell. It was a wake-up call. Your time is now. Your voice matters now. Live like every day is your last sermon to the world. Speak truth. Love boldly. Move with purpose. The world does not need more people preparing to live. It needs people brave enough to begin. Do not be afraid. It was a phrase Pope Francis repeated so often throughout his life. It became the heartbeat of his message. He spoke it to the poor, the forgotten, the brokenhearted, and the powerful alike. And in his final words to the world, he said it again, quietly, but with unshakable strength. Fear, he said, is not from God. It is the voice that keeps you small, silent, and far from who you were made to be. He had seen what fear could do to people, how it paralyzes the spirit, poisons love, and delays the call to action. He begged us not to let it win. Napoleon Hill was even more direct. He called fear the tool of the devil, and broke it down clearly. Fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. Every failure, Hill believed, could be traced back to fear hiding beneath the surface. Not lack of opportunity, not bad luck, just fear. And the worst kind of fear is the one we've accepted as normal. But fear can be destroyed, not through wishing, but through action. Hill laid out the steps. Know exactly what you want. Speak it daily with emotion. Surround yourself with voices of faith, not doubt. Take one step every day toward your goal, even if it's small. Fear feeds on stillness, so move. It thrives in silence, so speak. It grows in isolation, so connect. Every time you act in spite of fear, you weaken its grip. Pope Francis reminded us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to obey it. He had walked into slums, stood before dictators, faced the final chapter of life itself, and still said, "Do not be afraid." If a man with nothing to gain could face death without trembling, what excuse do we have? Fear only owns you if you serve it. But the moment you choose faith over fear, action over hesitation, purpose over comfort, you begin to rise. Not someday, today. That is how fear dies. Not with miracle, but with a decision. In the final breaths of his message, Pope Francis did not speak of monuments or memorials. He spoke of legacy. Leave behind a world better than the one you found, he whispered. It was not a suggestion. It was a plea, a cry from a man who had seen too much pain, too much division, and yet still believed in the goodness of the human heart. He reminded us that we are not here to merely survive. We are here to serve, to lift, to light the path for others who may never know our names. Napoleon Hill echoed the same truth in a different language. You have been endowed with the power to shape your destiny, he wrote. Not for applause, not for ego, but for impact. Real greatness, Hill insisted, has nothing to do with fame or wealth. It has everything to do with how many lives you touch, how many people you inspire, how deeply you live your truth. The size of your audience doesn't matter. What matters is the intention behind your actions and the courage to keep going. Every one of us has a message. It's written not in speeches, but in how we love, how we rise after falling, how we treat others when no one's watching. Your life is your legacy. It's the story someone else will tell to gain strength. It's the light someone will remember when they're standing in darkness. And it doesn't begin when you're perfect. It begins when you decide that your time here will mean something. Pope Francis, with a soft and final smile, handed that torch to us all. Now the question remains, what will you do with it? What story will your life tell when you're gone? In his final moments, Pope Francis did not offer comfort. He offered clarity. His voice, though frail, carried the weight of eternity. Live with all your heart, he said. Live as if every breath matters, because it does. It was both a prayer and a challenge, a sacred dare to those still walking this earth. He knew the truth that so many avoid, that life gives no guarantees, no second chances, no promise of tomorrow. And so we must choose, not later, now, Napoleon Hill would call this the ultimate test, the decision to conquer or to die, not physically but spiritually. To conquer your fear, your doubt, your excuses, or let them bury your potential. Hill never promised ease. He promised that greatness belongs only to those who claim it, those who demand more of themselves than the world ever will, those who rise again and again until their life becomes a victory, not just for themselves, but for everyone who comes after. There comes a moment when every soul is asked, will you live on purpose or will you fade forgotten? Will you build, speak, risk, and lead, or will you die with your song still trapped inside you? That moment is now. Right now. Pope Francis, with his final breath, passed the torch not to kings or clergy, but to you. He believed in the power of the ordinary soul awakened to its divine purpose. He believed in you. And so the challenge remains as real as ever. Live boldly. Love deeply. Move relentlessly. Speak your truth. Walk your path. And leave no dream behind. This is not rehearsal. This is your one and only shot. Conquer or die. If you found value in these insights inspired by Napoleon Hill, make sure to subscribe for more powerful lessons on mindset, wealth, and personal growth. We share timeless wisdom, practical strategies, and motivational content to help you unlock your full potential. Stay inspired. Stay focused. Master your mind.